storytelling, what I call KahaniKari, in corporate presentations is a very powerful tool for captivating audiences and conveying complex ideas in a very memorable, unforgettable way. Through telling of stories, presenters can create emotional connections with their listeners. They can make the content more relatable and engaging and achieve the purpose of their presentation. And an effective storytelling involves careful planning and structuring to ensure that the narrative flows smoothly and holds the audience's attention. It requires a balance of authenticity, creativity, and empathy to resonate with diverse audiences and leaves a lasting impression. Ultimately, mastering the art of storytelling can elevate a presentation from mere information delivery to becoming a transformating experience that inspires and motivates, educates, and persuades. Hi, I'm Dr. Aneeta Madhok, coaching psychologist, managing director of Open Spaces Consulting. As an HR expert and an integrative living nutritionist, I often bring to you series of subject matter discussions with subject matter experts on topics that are of relevance and of interest in the context today. Today, we decided to talk about storytelling because it's something that everybody is speaking about, and we felt we had a point of view as well. And I'm very happy to bring to you a master storyteller, person called Yogesh Chandak. So friends, today I have with me Yogesh Chandak. By qualification, he's an MBA and a chartered accountant, and he has a flourishing practice of his consulting and financial accounting. But one of his biggest passions is that he's a change agent, and he loves working with people, being with people, and advancing their personal and professional skills. So Yogesh also specializes in soft skills training that drives holistic growth amongst individuals and organizations for personal and professional achievement. So I will be giving more on Yogesh in a slide, which will be in the beginning of this talk that we are going to have. And also perhaps at the end, you might find a link to his social media, which which if you want, you can contact him anytime. So Yogesh, would you like to address our audience and say hello to them?
Hello, Aneeta ji, and hello, everyone. It's great to be in a virtual mode to be interactive with them. And I would like to share my experience, whatever knowledge sharing I can do, and hope you will have a great learning. And obviously, more impactful we can be offline, but as the things permit, we are doing it virtually. And I hope I would be able to justify what Aneeta ji and you all have planned. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So I've already shared something about what storytelling in corporate context is about. And we are talking about corporate context. We're not talking about filmmaking and stories and novels. And that's a completely different domain altogether. But our audience consists of managers in companies. They normally convey information in the form of PowerPoint presentations. And we try to make the presentations interesting by adding some, little images here and there. But when we tell a story, our presentations become more understandable, more persuasive. They enable the information sharing in a way that people understand. Sometimes we communicate, sometimes we educate, sometimes we align. So many purposes these corporate presentations achieve. Today's youngsters and millennial generation that are entering the workforce, they have grown up with PowerPoint, unlike us. We didn't have computers and internet when we grew up. But today's young generation, they've already had death by PowerPoint. They repeatedly. So we all want to add stories and bring things to life by, bringing our information that has to be given. The purpose is still to deliver that information and that purpose. So according to you, what are some of the key elements of storytelling, especially in the context of work, presentations, PowerPoint? Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a very important part of the aspect of storytelling. See, storytelling is not we have been reading stories since we have the day we were born. Somebody or the other, maybe it a fairy tale, maybe the Panchatatra, or maybe the Jataka tales, and all these have been inspiring. The most important aspect is how you deliver it and what is the timing. So if I can put it in bullet points to understand, to really make a note of it, how and what are the key elements so that your story really becomes more impactful and gives the message loud and clear.
Yeah.
Some elements I have thought of sharing with you. And the first and the foremost is, as a storyteller, you know the context in which you are going to give the story. It should be related to the subject matter, the topic which you have been delivering.
Yes.
So you don't need to say the message directly. So the story does it all. And the story makes an impact, and they can memorize it, because story creates more and they can visualize it. So the first and foremost aspect is, never start with saying, okay, now I'm going to say a story. Don't say that. Just straight away, be natural, be cool. And straight away, what happened was, once somebody happened like that, and you can start with the story. So it comes with the flow. Don't say that I'm now going to put a story. Never say that. The first aspect. Second is, you can always try to create a suspense by starting to deliver a story. So they will be like in a form of surprise, or they will be curious to listen to what is going on. What
And
is it?
suddenly you created a
Yeah.
hook for that.
So that curiosity should be aroused between
Right,
the
right,
so the
right.
audience should know. So the second aspect is, first create the suspense, and second build the curiosity. So once the curiosity is there, they are eager to listen to the whole thing, the whole story.
Yeah.
And they will obviously want what is the conclusion and all those things. Then you need to pay attention on what details you are going to share in the story. So you have to plan it well.
Yes.
It cannot be just you stay the story and you forget the key details which are to be delivered to the participants.
Yeah, I know sometimes at the time of delivery, you tend to skip some details and some. So you need to practice, memorize the
Yeah,
story
you
yourself.
memorize the story and keep attention on the details of the points, bullet points, which
Right.
you really want to.
Absolutely right.
And the most important aspect is of storytelling is how you deliver it. So you need to have those voice modulation, which we do a lot in public speaking. Body language, what kind of body language? If you are going to deliver a soft message, your body language and the voice tone should be soft. Sometimes it has to be very loud. Sometimes it has to be mediocre. So the voice modulation and the body language both go together. That is very, very important, because that makes the story more interesting.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the heart of the people. Then you need to sometimes, because you have raised the curiosity of the participants, you need to see whether the audience is involved with you.
Right.
So you may ask some questions out of that story. What did I say? What was the key aspect? What was he planning for? Oh, he was planning to climb Mount Everest. So you can check whether they are aligned with you in the story part. So that audience involvement. And of course, your energy should be on the top level. You cannot be a person who is full of loss of energy, and you want all the participants to get energized. And the most critical aspect is within what time you have to deliver the story, and the right timing when you have to deliver the story. So it's both timing. Timing aspect is for both things. How much time you have to take for the stories, and what is the timing, right time to, during that message, the story should pop up.
Yeah.
Clear mind.
Yeah.
So you need to prepare well in advance.
So without preparation, it doesn't work. You have to plan it.
Yeah, you have to plan it. And then the way you present it, the participants, the audience should be able to just create an image or a sort of a movie. They should be able to visualize. They should start thinking of something like, yeah, I can see this story.
The imagination.
Yeah. The imagination should be on high with that story. So you should be able to imagine that. So then it goes to their head and heart. And it should, of course, be attached to them emotionally. So the EQ can be raised, emotional quotient can be raised of the participants. And the last part, the most impactful, the most important, is what are the learning messages? This can be done by way of brainstorming, as well as the speaker can also deliver. This was the outcome of this story. What is
Of course, the message is the big part.
That's the biggest part.
Sometimes we get lost in telling the story and forget the real purpose why we
The purpose is very important. So the purpose comes at the end. and
Right.
that is what, and then your slide has that keyword, which purpose you are in. So
Right.
you align your part with that. So presentation is also there, your story is also there. So these are the key elements which I think maybe you
So
can.
wonderful, the way you have outlined it. I do believe what you just said is also, you can look at it as an art and a science of storytelling.
Yeah.
And in the science, you have spoken about the structure, the theme, the tone of voice, the characters, the plot, the relevance of purpose, information sharing, bringing the information. This is all the science of it.
Yes.
The planning, the details. But there's also an art.
Art.
There's an art. How do
Yeah.
you grab attention? How do you weave the context in a way that, whatever message you have delivers the right impact that was originally intended? How do you find your flow as a storyteller? You cannot like give a practiced and rehearsed something. It has
Yeah,
to
yeah.
come from an inner flow. And that's where the art is.
It
And I
should look quite natural.
it's natural. It's coming
Yeah.
from inside, no?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I do believe that the story should not be larger than the message. At times, I've seen many trainers, they tell the story, and the story is big and humorous, and everybody is laughing, but the message is somewhere lost. So, the
Yeah.
story must not be bigger than the message.
The
And
messages should be bigger. The message is the
message
important part.
message is more important.
More important.
And the storyteller should not, of course, lose sight of the real purpose. And I think this is a key difference between corporate presentations and adding storytelling to that, as compared to making a film or writing a novel.
Yeah.
Where in making a film, writing a novel, it's only the story. Whereas here, there is a message and there is a purpose and there is,
The key aspect is the purpose why we are doing it.
yeah. Great, 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 great. So I know you're a fantastic storyteller because I've seen you having spellbinded audiences yourself. So give us some tips on how to be a good storyteller.
We already discussed it, ma'am, and you already, Anitaji, you told that. What I do, I will share my experience, what I do, because you learn from yourself also. And
Yeah,
this is what I learned from my mentors and others also. The first and the foremost is plan it. So you have your presentation ready. You know what has to be done and what not has to be done, what are the activities. But leave a space for some stories over there, small stories related to the slides. So
yeah.
the keywords. And if those keywords are not spoken by you, rather you give a story, small anecdote, and the learning message is that keyword. So that planning has to be there.
But having seen you in action, I know that we can't see the planning. For us, it looks like you're in a flow and it's coming out naturally. But as a listener, we don't see the planning that you have put in through. So just remember that the listeners don't know that you have planned, but
Yeah, but we need to plan.
but
As a speaker, we
planning
need to plan it properly.
is a part of the success.
Part of the success. Then you have to make that story your personal story. Like you are you are also inspired by the story, or you got a change in your life, or you got a positive transformation in your life. You got focus and you just move ahead. And that is one of the key elements of success of your own life. Something like that.
Yeah.
So the story which inspires you will definitely inspire others also. This is what I feel. So you should make that story your personal story. I got really inspired by this person, and I now need to tell you that this story is about why me. So
Yeah.
with this, the big question, like people always ask, "Main hi kyun?" Why me always? So then that story of Arthur Ashe is a very relevant point over there, because everywhere people say, "Mera kismat kharab hai." My luck is a bad luck. I always get because of too much efforts I have to put to get something. So then comes the story of why me. So it's like that. So you relate it and make it your a personal touch to that story. So that is the second thing which I consider. And obviously, the story has to be for the audience.
Obviously.
It
Yeah.
should not be for the speaker himself. It
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
for the audience. So it is his story or it is his personal inspiration story, but it is for the audience.
Yeah.
So that is very important.
You have to
Then
keep that in mind.
again, what key elements is, again, how you do it is, again, focus on the main points of the story, because those are the outcomes which we want to give to them.
Yeah.
So how to do it is focus on the main points. Then sometimes you have to really make it a wow. Like nowadays you have those reels looking so elegant, so beautiful, just like a wow.
You have to do
So,
the window dressing.
so leave some elements for surprise sometimes.
So that
So
window
it will
dressing,
create a wow effect.
that wow factor. That is, of
So
course,
that
good. And even if you have to really, the show has to go on when
you
you
has to. So
storytelling.
this is how you deliver a story. Once you have prepared it, once you have practiced it, once you have rehearsed it, then you need to create that wow effect. So the participants are just mind blown. They will think, wow, that was something
And
class
how
of.
does the wow come, sir? How does the wow
The wow comes on self mode, because if you are properly delivering the
come?
story and you give them the right message which
Yes.
relates to your presentation,
Yes.
the wow is bound to come.
And everything else also, maybe also, the personality of the storyteller and the gravitas, the credibility, the
That is,
voice, and how you communicate, all that is important,
all that is important. All that is
part of
important.
the wow factor.
Part of the wow.
I'm a psychologist, so being a psychologist, I talk about the brain and the whole brain, the left brain,
Mm.
the right brain, the cognitive brain, the primitive brain. I talk about all these aspects of the brains. And I say that when I give information in a PowerPoint, I'm
Mm.
only looking at this cognitive brain in front, which is not that well developed. It's logic, reason, and things like that. But when I tell a story,
Mm.
there is a primitive brain and which gets engaged
Mm.
because the story is something I relate to. My emotions get connected, and that is the core inner instinct that I awaken in my.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Very
And
true.
that is when, through that story, I don't address only this part of the brain, but I address this part of the brain, which can result in making a very powerful shift and a leap of growth, and your message can really reach home. So it's
Yeah.
not
I
just
just
about entertainment, it's about, impacting, influencing, and achieving the purpose through that
Yeah,
story.
very true. I just remember a movie in which Nana, I don't remember the name of the movie. Nana Patekar was the actor over there. And
Mm.
somebody, sometimes they hit here on his brain. So he says that, इधर नहीं मारने का, ये छोटा दिमाग है और ये बहुत काम का दिमाग है.
that is the
So when it goes to a movie, that is also a story, and then again you can relate it, and then your science of cognitive brain and primitive brain, it just aligns things.
exactly.
It becomes more relevant and more important.
Exactly. And that when you make a shift there, it's permanent.
Yeah,
It's forever.
that's forever.
So good, good, good. So this is wonderful. And there are times, when stories work and sometimes when stories don't work. I've seen
Mhm.
that also happening in real life,
Yeah, that's
in
absolutely.
corporate real life. And even in the film in world and in the, novels and all, some novels are very successful, some are not.
Mhm.
And we don't know sometimes, but there are some key ingredients when stories are more effective. So can you share with us what you think makes a story more effective?
You
And
see, it's like you cannot have a set pro forma or set points that
standards.
it will be effective or not effective. It's just how you deliver, what is the story, what is the learning message, what is your presentation all about. But still, like stories become more effective when you are using it like for say first point foremost is like either you are teaching or coaching. Right? Training is part of that. So if you are teaching or coaching to people, then if you get make them inspired by some stories,
Yeah.
then it really becomes impactful. Like say for example, if you take example of Sachin Tendulkar, so he he put his entire dedication and devotion into cricket.
Yeah.
55 days non-stop he's playing cricket. He would reach home, sleep on the dining table, not eat food. Made his debut in international cricket at the age of 16. A young boy. Anytime he could have gone to become a pace three, earned a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he had that attitude to be in cricket.
Yes.
And that's why he was made the ambassador of the World Cup this time.
Yeah.
See, he's not playing, still he's associated with cricket. And the entire team, you must have seen that video which came. The entire team would, after the match, they would invite him online on the screen because they are playing at places. Tendulkar is not moving every place, but Sachin Paji is on the screen. And then they are sharing, sir, somebody got man of the match, a player of the match. That is fine. But what, according to you, is the player of the match in our dressing room? So all the 14, 15 cricket match players who are playing the tournament are getting inspired by Sachin Paji. They are calling him Paji. Now you tell us what was the best. Either it was bowling, batting, fielding, wicket keeping, and he would really pinpoint some key aspects, and then he will declare one of them as the player of the match according to what should be in the dressing room. That's a
Yes,
close-ended discussion.
yes.
But this is how people get inspired from. That's why he's called as the god of cricket, master blaster.
So yes, so inspirational stories need inspirational
It can
character
be used in
development.
presentations like what we are planning about. It can be used for presentations. Sometimes all other options don't work. This I've seen my experience. So at that time, to create the interest in the audience, to really make them connected to
That
you,
is the purpose to
the
create.
story works there.
That could be also to energize and reconnect
Energize.
the
So
audience.
sometimes
But
some of
to me, the stories are most effective when what is the audience need?
Hmm.
What is it? What do they need? Do they need
Yeah,
inspiration? Do they need energizing? Do they need insight? Do they need information? Do they need education? Do they need to be persuaded? So, what
yeah.
does the audience need? That defines the purpose.
That's
Not
different.
my need to tell a story, and not my need to be, the central person who's telling a story. And so, the audience need is above me as a storyteller. And to
True.
me, that is the most effective. If it is
Yes,
not relevant to the audience, then you can tell all the stories and then people go away feeling very entertained. But it's like operation is successful, but the patient died.
patient died.
So,
So that's true very much, Anita ji. Because it's like, okay, you have planned for a story, but sometimes you have to be extempore, looking at the audience.
yeah.
They need an energizer, or they need some inspiration, or they need to be involved in some discussion. You can plan, because now see, of course, it all comes with experience. The more you deliver stories, and then it comes to your mind immediately when you have certain discussion, and then you have a story in your mind, small anecdote which can be delivered. So all that is extempore also. It
Yeah.
cannot be always planned. Sometimes you have to be extempore also. So these are some options. Then selling skills stories are very relevant over there. You can have a case study and some story. Parenting, of course, nowadays too much of parenting is being done, and then you can say,
Have like a kit bag full of stories.
yeah, kid bag full of stories for parenting. uh, like I was in the defense personnel, so they have a lot of stress. The police, the border security forces. I was delivering a training last week. So when I delivered some stories over there, they were really inspired. So their stress got released.
Yeah.
So sometimes stress management busters.
So this is exactly what I also believe. Like you just talked about this experience with the defense personnel. Now, that's a story. That's
Yes, sir.
something which is personal to you. I
Hmm.
feel the most ineffective stories for people in corporate presentations are the WhatsApp university stories. The WhatsApp university, and you get on this mobile phone, you get 10 to 15 stories every day. And those stories, sometimes I see a story coming which has come to me 2 years ago or 4 years ago, comes back one more time. I say, "Arey, this story is still doing the rounds. So that is the most ineffective, because there will be one person in your audience or two people in your audience who have heard that story before on their WhatsApp. And everybody knows, oh, I know the ending of the story. Now let me see how it ends.
Those are all viral stories. Though they does not make an impact. You have
So
to.
that
I
kind
told
of
you, make
story
it
is
personal.
definitely not effective.
Today morning, I was in an inaugural ceremony. I was a keynote speaker there, and I'm associated with an organization called JCI. I told you earlier, so Junior Chamber International. So there was some training workshop of 2 days going on. Today they started the inaugural. They invited me for a keynote speech. So I was just thinking. Then I made up my own thoughts. So the organization is for the people from age of 18 to 40, and you get leadership positions, experience to do work as a leader between the age of 18 to 40. Now, why 18 to 40? I asked the audience. Nobody had the answer. So I gave them my points, which made sense. And they were surprised. That created a wow effect. All things come together. This is just today morning's experience.
Yeah.
So I said, before 18, your decisions are governed by either your parents or your grandparents or the brothers and sisters elder to you. After 40, you get matured. You have kids, you have a wife or a spouse. Your decisions are being dominated or being discussed and taken up in discussion with your children and your spouse. You don't take your decision.
Yes.
18 to 40 is the age where you take your own decision. and you are accountable for it. And that is where JCI plays a key role, that we give you leadership experience, we give you hands-on working experience, and you learn by doing. So they really got inspired. So this is something different type of aspect.
So this is
Creating a
exactly the kind of thing I was saying, the story that you just talked about, what you experienced in the morning, narrating that as your incident. That's the best kind of story. Something
yeah,
that you've been through.
yeah,
Something.
that's making it more personal.
So I do know one thing that, when I make a PowerPoint presentation, and just yesterday also I was in a class and I had this big PowerPoint presentation, and I'm feeling like I hate PowerPoint. I hate because I have to go to the next bullet point and then I have to go to the next slide and that kind of. So I just stopped the presentation. I said, look, guys, I'm going to send this presentation to you. It was a training on performance management. And then I started talking about different incidents and how you feel when you are evaluated and how you feel when you get a numbers rating at the end of it. What does the bell curve mean to you? When I started just going in my free flow, I found the audience was engaging much more, and I found that things were going fine. So this PowerPoint is the worst kind of story, and I think we should try and escape from that to the extent possible.
PowerPoint is just a handy tool.
That's true.
What is important is what the speaker is speaking and how the audience is taking it.
And a personal incident is something that you witness,
Mm.
the best kind. Nobody else can narrate it for you.
No,
And
no. It's not, as such,
unless you make a WhatsApp message of it and put it out and make it go viral, then other
so
people may tell your story as if it's their own. I think the best kind of story is something that you have been through yourself.
yeah,
And at least in a corporate presentation. So
yeah.
even when you're talking about sales figures, in your PowerPoint presentation, there's a story there. How did you get to that figure? How did you, arrive there? And what is something outstanding there? And what does
And
that,
what hardships you faced?
what
That is also
hardships you
important.
faced? And what does it say? Good things about the future? And what kind of scenario you can create from these figures? There's lots to say, even just if you have got a sheet full of numbers to present.
Correct.
There's lots of stories you can.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
sometimes your own experience of life becomes your own story, and that gives a message also.
true, true. And before we close, I want to talk about, we all have an individual personality.
Mhm.
I have my personality, you have yours. We speak different languages and we treat language differently. We think differently. Our pattern of thinking is different. So ultimately, I would say every storyteller needs to discover his storytelling personality. But we don't know that there are types of storytellers. So what do you have to say about different types of storytellers?
It's like
And what can we learn from there?
yeah, yeah. It's like you must have seen that a lot of Kavi Sammelans happening in India, and you have then you have a variety of poets who are reciting poems of their own created poetries in that Kavi Sammelan, and it's high level things because many are very very popular. Some are like hasyaras, they are full of humor.
The humorous one.
Yes. So they like inspire and like they just want you to go and now just capture the world. So those are called as Virras. Then you have Shringaras, of course, for the females. Shringaras means the beauty part, the decorative part, the vanity part. So that's the Shringaras. Then it's all types of so storytelling is something like that. You cannot be always like stories are very small stories as far as related to presentation. You cannot have a long story as we discussed earlier also.
Yeah.
So stories can be to persuade people to do something good about at least their own life. So it can be a persuasive story. So types of storytellers can be a persuasive storyteller, can be an inspirational storyteller to inspire the audience. Sometimes you need to just change things. So I would say, taking the humor part of it, you have to be manipulative storyteller also. You need to change the paradigm shift of the participants to just manipulate things and then come back to the right aspect. And there can be identifying the potential of the audience, so you can just tap your own potential type of story, that how you came to know about your potential and you also don't know your potential, so let's check whether you have that ability or not. So everyone has got abilities, but only thing is they don't. I would say people spend their entire life trying to identify their own competence area. People are not able to identify their own core competence.
Yeah.
So it can be that also. Sometimes you create stories just to create history. So, like what Mahatma Gandhi had said to the professor in Lucknow University when he was roaming around in India in the year 1942 for the Quit India movement. So the history professor told Mahatma Gandhi, I've been teaching history since last 20 years.
Mhm.
I read a lot about it and we learn from history. So history says that we cannot get independence from the satyagraha or ahimsa and all these things. We need to really fight for it.
Yeah.
So Mahatma Gandhi very humbly listened to him. And after that, professor, he was finished with this, his submission on about how to get freedom from the British government. Mahatma Gandhi very humbly said, "Sir, you are doing very good thing. You are very good at teaching history. You keep on teaching history. Your job is to teach history. My job is to create history."
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
I
how
think
he.
you're a living example because just in this very brief discussion, we have listened to lots of stories from you, and each one has been quite interesting and fascinating, so and quite relevant too. But tell me, there might be times when a story misfires and it doesn't go right, or the storyteller is it didn't work out.
At times it happens if you are not prepared for it, or you have not been practicing, or maybe new people who just learn the art of storytelling, they sometimes skip the main points or the learning messages, and then it misfires.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens. So you have to be very pretty sure when you're delivering a story. Otherwise, stick to your PowerPoint. Practice little, and then you practice makes a man perfect.
So it's
That's
a
the whole
journey, learning the art of
the
storytelling.
learning. Yeah. It's a
It's a
journey
journey
because
to get
you
better.
need to remember the whole
You
entire
are so
story.
young right now. I can see when you get to my age, you'll be, mind blowing. You're already, so proficient at storytelling. And you get better and better every time, like good old wine. So more the time, the better. So it's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a
Yeah.
journey.
And everybody can learn. It's a learning.
Everyone can. It's a
Everybody.
two-way process. Even we as coaches, we as trainers also learn every session is a new learning session.
So that's so wonderful to hear from you. On that note, I would like to just say a very heartfelt thank you. And it's been a wonderful discussion. It's definitely going to add value to the audiences that we have got here today. Today, everybody in every company is trying to look at how do I make my PowerPoint presentations a little more engaging? How do I make my report writing a little more engaging? How do I, do my training a little better? I think this is going to be, very helpful to all of those people. So thank you.
Thanks a lot to you to really bring me in, and I feel privileged that I will be indirectly delivering a small training course on art of storytelling because all of you. So thanks a lot for the opportunity and the honor.
Thank you.